All right, well, it is 12 o'clock right on the dot, and we have a wonderful presentation for everyone who's joining today to sit and listen to and engage with. We have Holly Craig with Mountain America Credit Union here with us today to talk about sensing and stopping a scam. This topic, as we are all familiar, is so important for today's technological age, right? As things are progressing, not only for the benefit, but for the downfall for some of us. So we want to make sure that we're aware of this topic. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Holly. Holly, if you want to introduce yourself, give a little bit of background, and you go
Yes.
right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany. So I'm Holly Craig, and I'm the channel manager. I oversee financial education here at Mountain America. And if you've been participating all along here with our monthly presentations, you've probably had every one of my team members present. So it's nice for me to get a chance. I love my Salt Lake County friends, and so I'm excited to be here. And this is a really important conversation to have. And I am excited to announce we are in the middle. We are so close to revamping this presentation. So I think next go around, it's even going to be better. Because as Brittany mentioned, man, this is constantly evolving and it's hard to keep up with things. So we're going to talk about scams. How do you sense and stop the scam? And I want to start out with just a couple of statistics. So the Federal Trade Commission in 2023 had 2.6 million fraud reported. So if you think about that number for a second, 2.6 million people reported fraud. How many people were victims of fraud and did not know that they should report that to the FTC? And the reason for that is I've been in the financial industry for over 20 years. And when I started, probably up until maybe 10 years ago, or maybe even less, we would just call the police department. They would come down to the branch and file a report, and they would investigate it. And man, those days are gone. And it's so overwhelming. And law enforcement doesn't have the bandwidth to do that. The only way we can really help stop this is by reporting this to the FTC, because they monitor it. And as they start to see the most common, reports or the same type of where it's coming from, then they do a deeper, and that's how we kind of get to the bottom of it and try to get some of these scammers or these fraudsters to stop. Out of that 2.6 million, we actually 27% of the people that reported that, the losses totaled $10 billion. So 2.6 million reported, and it created a $10 billion loss with those people. And imposter scams back in 2023 was actually the #1 fraud reported. So in 2021, there's a statistic that ages between 15 years old and 59 were 34% more likely to fall victim of a scam than those that are 60 plus years old. Because some of the most common frauds that we're seeing is online shopping. You get those advertisements through social media, and they're just offers, they're too good to be true. And, people are going online and purchasing, not getting their merchandise, sending their money, never hearing anything. Job scams is another popular one that we're seeing, where people are going in and promising these really easy peasy work from home, make big bucks. And it's just, if it's too good to be true, that's exactly what it is. And then there was some cryptocurrency investment opportunities. So pretty scary of all of the things that we have going on right now, and how much money people are losing. Let's see. Okay, so I just threw this up here. It's the guy on the deserted island. He gets the message in the bottle and he opens it up and it says, "We've been trying to reach you for your car's extended warranty." And it's super funny and we can all relate to it. But the sad thing about it is, when we first started doing these presentations, that was probably the worst fraud or scam thing that was going on at the time. And this is actually like, I don't even know if we see that anymore. There's so many other things that are bigger. I mean, now we've got AI involved to some of the fraud and scams. And so, I mean, it's still funny, but you know, it tells you just where we've come from over the last few years. So I'm hoping if you have two takeaways today, being able to recognize the signs of a scam and then also ways that you can help protect yourself. If you walk away with that, then Mountain America will put my direct deposit into my account next week. So hopefully you have a better understanding of that. So let's talk about characters. We're going to go over each one, but we're thinking about, you know, our emotional decision making and our sense of urgency, excitement, and fear. These are the things that all of the fraudsters, you know, these are what they target for us in our decision making when they're trying to get us to do things that we shouldn't do. So breaking it down specifically like emotional decision making. So you've all heard us talk about our caveman brain, our cerebral cortex, the whole thing that help control our emotions. And so think about it. How many times have you had a conversation where you said something without thinking about it? Or you wrote something, answered an email, like even today, I answered an email that I got last night, a little bit upsetting, thought about it all night long. But how many times of us are quick to react or say things and then go back and think, oh, I should have said this or I shouldn't have said that. But we reacted on our emotions at that time versus using our rational brains. And these are exactly the same kind of things, right? So, you know, using our emotional brain to where we react quickly, you know, maybe it's the fear of missing out, or maybe it's, you know, a risk that we're worried that's going to happen. But we make decisions that are fast and involuntary and, you know, associated, like we just dig right in and get it answered. Where if, you know, we were to take time out and really process it and think about it, it would be a different situation, right? It's kind of like waiting overnight and how you're going to put into words the answer to that email. So having that time, you go back, you know, and then it's a little bit more clear, and you know, you're making a better choice of whatever they're trying to talk to you in or talk you into. Urgency and excitement, fear. How about the, you know, calls, there's a warrant out for your arrest, right? Our group actually works a lot with nonprofit organizations from people who are in recovery groups or have been coming out of incarceration. And it's really sad. We really have to educate them because a lot of times they've had past lifestyles that they don't know. There's a really good possibility. And knowing, well, wait a second, you're going to warrant out for my arrest. Well, that requires literally being served something, right? They're just not going to do that if you don't whip out your credit card. You know, or emails, right? There's fraud on your account. There's a huge uptick. In fact, when you log on to your financial institution, like with Mountain America, we've got this big old yellow thing that says, you know, like, make sure that, you know, it's a fraud warning to let you know that this is the right site that you're on. And then text messages. Who here has received recently, there's an undeliverable package waiting for you. And if you don't call them, right, it's hilarious. But if you don't call them, guess what? That mystery package that you weren't expecting, that a friend or family just didn't tell you they were sending, you better call, you better pay so that they'll deliver it. So think about things like that, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to our emotions to be reactive. Phone calls, right? We just mentioned this, making sure that when you are, so unexpected contacts, we'll talk about getting phone calls and getting emails. When you get a phone call, typically it's a false claim, you know, they're asking you to send them money or provide additional or your private information. And, you know, think about that for a second, research, verify that claim, right? So if they're calling you and saying, oh, congratulations, you won our sweepstakes. Did you enter any time? Did you enter any contests, or, who registered to win that cruise that you have to put a security deposit down to reserve your free cruise of $500? If you owe money, well, the very best thing you can do is say, thanks for letting me know. I'll call my lender directly. Done. Hang up. If they're saying you owe money, it's a financial institution or whatever, whoever the lender is or whoever they're calling from, think about it. Have you ever done business with that organization? Why would they be calling you and say you owe them money? I had mentioned like AI right now. I mean, it is just crazy what they're able to do now. I mean, they're doing voice recognition. So now we're at the stage where we have to really think about when people call us. And one of them, I don't know, Brittany, it might have been you that I had mentioned this before, but there's one that goes around where when you answer the phone, they say, can you hear me? And if you answer yes, well, now they've just recorded your yes, and they can dip into whatever information you have. And when they get prompted for information, they have your voice. There was I watched a little like clip documentary, and there was a gal who was talking about receiving a phone call from her sister. And it was her sister crying and yelling in the phone that she was being held hostage. She had been kidnapped. They need her to pay $5,000 or they were going to hurt her. And the sister panicking. And when she went to go put the phone on speaker so she could get her information, she accidentally disconnected from the phone. And it literally put her into a panic, thinking she hung up and her brother had reached out to her and had received the same call. And what it ended up being is somebody had recorded this sister's voice, turned it into this extreme panic situation. And when they reached out to the sister, she was like, oh yeah, I'm just dropping the kids off at the school. So there's just crazy things going on right now that you really have to think. And, maybe it's even a good time. Like, we remember teaching our kids stranger danger. If someone pulls up on the side of the road, says, hey, your mom's been in an accident, get in the car. We told our kids a code word, right? Have these conversations with family and friends. And it's horrible that we have to even go there, but having conversations and saying, listen, if there's something that legitimately is happening, throw out that word so that I know that it's a legit thing. Pretty scary, pretty sad. Messages and emails, be cautious, right? When they ask you to click on a link, or, checking out the sender information. And I'll go through, I have an example a little bit later, but if you take your mouse and you even hover over the email address, it will show you the full email address of where that's coming. And if it comes from ABC at, EFG email and not a specific email address from the organization or business that's contacting you, don't do that. If it's something that, don't ever click. If it's something that's asking for personal information, or, if they've got your information to contact you, they're going to have the other information that they need. A financial institution is not ever going to send you anything that's going to ask you for account verification, username, passwords, or anything like that. But not only just looking at who's sending you the email, but if you take whatever they're having you link on and just open it up into your search bar, it will come back and give you if it's a legit thing. And even at that point, I still wouldn't click on anything. I would call whatever that claim is that you need to click on their link. let's see. So this is an actual email that a member had received a while back. And if you look at it, think about it. So if Mountain America was sending you, an email, or if someone else is sending you an email and it's, supposed to look pretty professional, look at how this is drawn up. The punctuation, the spelling, the run-on sentences, they've got capitalization and words that just don't. So when you're reading something and you're like, oh my word, is this a 2-year-old? Just know that, especially with organizations, businesses, things like, correspondence that goes through a real, it really gets vetted through processes to make sure that everything is, perfect, right? They're not going to have a correspondent go out to customers where, it's a situation like this. This is what I was talking about. If you look at the from, it says Amazon Customer Appreciation, but the email is being sent from newsletter@rerulenow.com. Other things that stand out is, does this really look like the Amazon marketing? You're talking about an organization as large as Amazon or UPS or FedEx. Think about what it takes for them to have their branding and for marketing. The Amazon logo, the capital A, the font size, the colors, none of it is really what you're used to seeing with their branding that's out there with advertisements, whether it's your television or their trucks. So just really paying close attention to things like that, or font or spelling. Unusual requests, so things we'll go through is asking to provide information or accept money, packages, confidentiality, right? Shh, don't tell anyone about this. We don't want them to feel bad that they're not getting the same offer. So providing, information. If someone calls you and says, hey, I'm with ABC Financial Institution, I have a couple of questions for you. We think we've identified some fraud. Could you please verify your account? What's your social security number? Or what is your account number? Username, passwords. Just know that that information would never, ever, ever be asked from you. Now, if you call them, if you look on the back of your credit or debit card and you call them with the number that's on there and they say, oh yes, please, could you please provide the last 4 digits of your social? Could you please provide the last 4 digits of your account or your birthday? Anything like that, then you've contacted them with the phone number that you have on your card, or even better yet, just go into the location. But they will ask you those identifying questions, and it's exactly, unfortunately, for these same reasons. People try all the time to attempt to call financial institutions posing as someone else trying to get that information. And if you unfortunately provide username, passwords, social securities, and you fall victim, you're liable for that. Because you've willingly given that information, you will not be reimbursed for any kind of fraud or any kind of money lost, because it was a willing thing that you gave. And you have to think about this, especially with family members. It's been heartbreaking when parents have come in or grandparents have come in and they've given, a kid or another family member their debit card and have provided their PIN number because they were going to run down to the grocery store and pick up a gallon of milk. And then whoever they've given the debit card went on a shopping spree, and there's not one thing you can do about it. You provided the card, you provided the PIN. So we have to be careful about situations like that. Accepting money orders and packages. For one thing, right, there's a huge potential for loss. But the other thing is, if it is, if someone says, well, I'm going to send you a package, could you then forward it on to so-and-so? you could be getting yourself into other legal trouble, not just becoming a victim of a scam or fraud. So you really want to make sure that you never agree to do those kinds of things. You know, fake money, deposits, checks are huge, especially with those job scams. We're going to go ahead and send you a check for in advance. We're going to oversend it to you. And then if you can get us money back in the form of gift cards, that's a pretty typical one. Just know that nobody would ever ask you to reimburse them. They're going to send you the money that's the full amount due. Deposit to hold a spot, right? So I just kind of talked a little bit about that, or return an overpayment. I will share a story. I've been in this for over 20 years, so I'm going to write a book one day because it's crazy. But I had a gal come in and she had wanted to file a fraud report because she had listed an old twin bed on KSL. And someone from California called her and said, I have to have this old twin bed. I think she had listed it for $100. They offered her $1,500 and said, you know, I'll send you $1,500. I have movers that are going to come and show and pick up the bed. Will you just pay them the cash of $1,400 so they can load it and drive it to California? And so she did. They legitimately sent people in a little U-Haul truck, picked up this old bed that she'd sold on KSL for $100. And then by the time that check that they had sent cleared, she was out. So just crazy things. Like, why would someone send you $500? You know, how much could you go buy a brand new twin bed? You know, so just thinking, again, it goes back to that rational, right? Like, oh, maybe you're moving and you want to get rid of it because it's one less thing you have to pack up and load, right? But think about it rationally before you react to stuff like that. The things that they'll ask you to do that are impossible to track, right? Or even, you know, make right. Gift cards, wire transfers, money orders. Wiring fraud right now is huge. And it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but when I was working at the branches, I remember, you know, financial institutions are going to do everything they can to have due diligence, right? They want to have good stewardship of your money. So they're going to ask additional questions, especially today. And I remember having someone become upset with me because I was asking, where's the money going? Do you know the person you're sending it to? Have you met them? What's it for? And it was, well, this is, you know, that's none of your business. Well, you know, again, it's really showing concern and stewardship towards your money. Because then I had a situation where a couple came in and they brought wiring instructions. They were buying a house. They had received an email from their title company that gave wiring instructions to wire out their down payment. It was $35,000. And they went to the window and they printed out the wiring instructions. Everything got sent out specifically the way the title company had sent it. And the title company had been hacked and they had sent out wiring instructions for all of their clients that were lined up to start their closing process. And it was a nightmare because we had to get the FBI involved, the Secret Service. We had to sign a contract that the institution that the money was sent to, we wouldn't hold them liable because they had a customer that was using their financial institution. And, you know, and it was just like, well, by the time we get through all this red tape and we get to it, we can freeze those assets in the account and pay them back, or it might have already gone through, right? By the time we did all this process, it could be long gone out of that account. And they were fortunate. We were able to recover it. But $35,000, imagine. And when they started to go back through the wiring, they found out that the wiring instructions weren't sent to the specific title company, it was an actual person's name. So paying really close attention. That's going to be in chapter 2 of my book, Brittany. Confidential. So, when they're asking you to keep the transaction a secret, right? Oh, hey, I'm not offering this out to a lot of people. We don't want people to get upset or other family members. Don't share this information. The biggest one that's so heartbreaking is relationship scams or online dating scams. They take advantage of people who are lonely, right? That's their emotion. And I've seen horrible things with that, where people have just even spent their entire life savings because they've either had a spouse pass away and they thought, well, I'm going to get back out there, and and then end up having someone target them. I had a gal come in a few years ago, and she was asking for a personal loan for $10,000. And I took the loan application and everything was great. We got it approved. She signed on it. We closed it. We put the money in the checking account. And then she had asked me to send a wire. And so I started asking those additional questions to her, right? Where's it going? What's it for? Who is it? Have you met this person? And it was this fiance of hers who was a doctor in New York City and was overseas buying new medical equipment, and got over there, and something had happened. The story was something like he'd either had his wallet lost or stolen or something like that, but he was stuck in this foreign country. And if you love me, you're going to help me out. I need you to send me $10,000 because I got to get back to the United States. And so that's what her story was. And I was like, have you met this person? And she was like, well, one time, like, he literally had come out to visit her. But think about it, if he knows he's going to get 10 grand later. And he kept texting and texting and texting and making her emotional, right? Like, when is that going to come? I'm stuck. I really need to get out of here. And I started asking her questions, and I Googled his medical office. There was no such thing. I Googled him. He was never listed as a doctor. I Googled the address. It was a taco restaurant. And I had just asked her, if he's a doctor and he's part of the practice buying medical equipment, don't you think he would have reached out to partners or other doctors in his office? I said, please, please, please don't send this wire. Please text him and tell him you were declined and you didn't get the loan approved. And I promise you, he's going to be angry, and he's going to tell you that you need to find another way to get the money. And it's going to get more and more aggressive. And sure enough, as we sat there for an hour while she went back and forth, it just, and she was heartbroken. And it's unfortunate. So when people tell you, don't tell anyone, I'm really embarrassed by it, and I love you and you love me, it's nobody else's business. Think of those kinds of things before you react. Be rational about it. And like I had done, right? She didn't even think about consulting the Googles. You can get a lot of information just by doing things like that. Let's see, how much time do we have? I think we're good. I don't know, Brittany, am I able to share audio? I have this quick little video.
Yeah, you can share audio.
Okay, I'm going to play this. It's just a really quick, and if you can't hear it, we'll stop.
Hello.
Can you hear?
Hi, Grandma. It's your favorite grandson.
Oh, Jimmy,
Yeah, it's Jimmy.
it is so good to hear from you, honey.
How are you doing, Grandma?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm kind of in a tight spot right now, and I need your help.
Oh my goodness, what has happened?
Well, I'm in Spain.
Spain?
Yeah, and I got arrested.
Oh my, arrested?
Yeah.
How in the world did you get arrested in Spain?
It's a long story, Grandma, but I don't have a lot of time. They're only letting me have one phone call, and I need your help. If I can't pay the fine, they're going to put me in jail, Grandma.
Oh dear.
Can you help me?
Well, have you called your parents?
No, Grandma, I haven't. They didn't want me to come in the first place, and I don't want to worry them.
Oh, but what can I do?
I need to pay the $2,500 fee, or they're going to send me to jail, Grandma. Jail! Will you help me?
Oh, my goodness, of course I'll help you.
Okay, so that happens all the time. And you notice he's like, "Hi, Grandma, it's your favorite grandson." He didn't even have to say a name because she was like, "Oh, Jimmy." Interesting enough, my oldest son is James, and he's always told that he's the favorite too. But this is a sad situation, and it's just crazy how many people fall for it. And again, I'll even go back and say, now we have AI. Where those voices are being impersonated and things like that is really simple. So, thinking again before, if you have questions, you wait, you think about it, talk to other people, actually say, okay, let me, call Jimmy's parents or call Jimmy directly. Just do anything you can to verify before you actually fall for it. This is just spotting the scam. So think about a pharmacy. If a pharmacy was to call you and say, "Hey, we've got a prescription here for you. It's ready. What is your, let me ask some verifying questions and I'll tell you what kind it is." Well, if you're not expecting something like that, or, if you've never worked with the business before, again, it goes back to being rational. Think about that. Why would Walmart Pharmacy be calling me? Because all of my prescriptions come through Smith's or they come through the mail. Just hang up and then go directly to the source that they say they are from. So some things you can do to protect yourself. Wait, right? So before you do anything, don't be reactive. Think about it. Take some time, even if you can just, I'll call back, or, "Hey, thanks a lot for calling me. I'm going to reach out. I'll reach back out in just a few minutes. I'm going to call back to my direct, with the direct number that I have." Request an official letter. "Hey, oh, there's a warrant out for my arrest." Well, you probably want to just hang up, but hey, I've not been served any kind of documentation. I'll wait for that. That's the advice I tell people that I work with that are coming out of those other situations in life. And then talking to someone you trust. If you are in doubt and you don't even want to talk to a family member about it, there's not a financial institution or a person that works at a financial institution that will not sit with you and try to make sure that it's legitimate. And they won't, they'll work with you to verify that the situation is legitimate. Verify and then trust. So scammers can spoof numbers. They can take phone numbers of legit businesses, and so when it calls you, it will legitimately pull up as that business. I actually had a statistic. There's 55 billion robocalls a year. Is it 55? 55 million robocalls a year that go out. And I think it was like 8.9 million of them were direct scams. And so they can impersonate these phone numbers and call you. It can appear like a legit number. Or if you don't answer to that one, those scam likelies, well, they're just going to impersonate another number if you block it, and they're going to try calling you from another number. It's just never ending on what they can do. Always ask for the caller's name and the organization. Hey, do you, so-and-so, what is your first and last name? Do you have an employee number that I can call back and verify from another number and get back to you? Review their web addresses. I kind of showed you how to do that with looking at who's the sender. and go online. Find out, like, go to, you can go to the state of utah.gov and check out business licenses. Is it a legit business, right? Who is the owner of the business? Who's registered the business? What are the, Better Business Bureau ratings? Have they been reported? Especially when you're dealing with people like, unfortunately, contractors, right? Oh, hey, I'm going to come out. I need you to pay me some money to get all of my materials up front. And then when we're done, we'll have you pay for the labor costs. Over and over again, you hear about people who have upfronted, thousands of dollars so that that contractor can get all of the materials, and then they're long gone. And so making sure they're a legit, licensed, insured business, check out their business, the Better Business Bureau, make sure people haven't been filing a complaint on them. And then also, if you become a victim, report it. Be one of those, 22 billion people that reported, or million people that reported to the Federal Trade Commission. You can always ask for an official letter. There's not a large company ever out there that won't be willing to send you a paper document explaining the things that they're requesting from you. For one thing, it will force you to wait until you receive that letter. But then it's going to also, if you do get the letter, it's going to be legit because it's going to have all of that information, especially if you ask for a letter and they say, well, what's your address? Red flag. If they know your phone number, they should know your address and where to mail that notice. Someone to talk to and trust, right? Again, think about it, go to someone, ask someone, because a lot of times, especially with participating in presentations like this, great opportunity to sit down with your kids, your family members, your friends, your parents. It was interesting, right? 15 to 59 was the age of most victims that fall. So having conversations and letting people know that you've sat through this, some of the information you've received. But if you are in doubt of anything, again, I'll say go into your financial institution, sit down with the people and say, hey, is this a legitimate check, or is this a legitimate offer? I get messages all the time from people that I've coached. Mountain America, we offer their one-on-one financial coaching. And all the time I receive emails or phone calls from people that say, hey, I just got this notice. Is this legit? Especially the ones that come in the form it looks like it's coming from a financial institution. Things to watch. So monitor your accounts. Check in today's day and age, every financial institution offers online banking or mobile banking. Takes 2 seconds, if not daily, every other day. Open those accounts and look at every single one of them. What's coming in, what's going out. Is it you who did that? Because you have a grace window. You only have a short period of time to file that complaint. And then it's, they'll give you a credit for that while they do the investigating. And once it's determined that, yes, it's fraud, but make sure you're monitoring your accounts, your credit report. I know that we've had our presentation on credit miss, annualcreditreport.com. You need to go make sure the things that are being reported on your credit are actually things that you've had credit pulled for, right? Any kind of loans, any kind of furniture, department stores. It lists on your credit report who has done these inquiries and what it was for. And then you check your name on that Social Security, because any kind of credit pull is going to associate the name that was associated with your social. So super important with that. And updating your antivirus software. Things like Norton comes to mind, or McAfee, but you can Google top antivirus solutions, right? And it's going to give you several different options. And I would probably suggest that you do the ones that are most well known, or even ask family and friends who do you use? But the Norton and the McAfee are the two that I think of right away. I would even say LastPass for passwords and logins and things like that. Storing it in something like that is huge rather than, you know, I would have people come in with their debit card and they had written on the back of their debit card their PIN number. So using something like that, so if it gets dropped or left behind, or even if when you go to pay at the restaurant and they take it to the back room to run your credit card, they don't have all of the good things that they're going to have the availability to use that card fraudulently. So like I mentioned, do your, review your transactions, notify your financial institution. There's only a short window of opportunity there, and then set up alerts in real time. So, for me, I have any transaction that goes out of my account more than $10, I get an alert. Hey, there's a withdrawal coming out. So, and I love it because I'll swipe my card at the grocery store or use my little chip, and then I immediately get a text message that shows there's a withdrawal coming out of the grocery store for that amount. And I absolutely love that. You can set it up if you're on your kids' accounts too, by the way. So that, not to be a, nosy Nelly with your kids' accounts, but if your name is on those accounts, you are 100% liable if there's fraud, or if it goes into the overdraft, or if they become delinquent. So just making sure that you're aware, even if you set it at $100, or if there's a low balance alert that you can get. Let's see. You can get a free copy of your credit report. We've talked about that. That annualcreditreport.com is what we've always suggested. It's free. Do it a couple of times a year. Notify the credit bureau. If there's something reporting and that's not you, notify them. Get it removed. Putting an alert on your credit report. Check with your financial institution. For Mountain America, I can go onto my mobile app and lock my social security number. So with the credit bureaus, so if anyone goes in and applies for a loan under my social, it gets declined. I have to go in and unlock it, apply for it, and then I can go back and actually go back in and lock it. And I remember forgetting that I had done that, and I had gone in and buy some furniture, and they declined me, and I was what? Like, I was terrified. Like, I watched this so closely, and then it dawned on me that the decline was because I'd blocked my credit. And then I was so excited that it worked. Right? I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome that legitimately works. Antivirus software, we've talked about that, keeping that up to date. Notifying, right? So if you see something weird or suspicious, report it. Service providers, right? So if your cell phone bill, or any kind of different service providers that you deal with or you don't deal with, that all of a sudden you're receiving text messages, emails, and phone calls from, reach out to them. Go into the store, go into T-Mobile, go into Verizon and say, why are you calling me and saying I owe money? And have them look for the account and why. Financial institutions, you see something funny, you question something, go to your financial institution, have them check it out for you. Government agencies, report to the FTC.com. How many people fall victim and they don't even realize, like, if we want to really help reduce this, or get some of these people or organizations that their full-time job is to scam us and victimize us, reporting it to the FTC is going to be the most helpful thing we can do. Because if they're receiving a certain organization over and over again, those are going to be their biggest focuses. And then friends and family, tell people what you've learned, tell people what you've experienced, and help somebody else prevent them from falling victim. Service providers, right? You, like I had mentioned, I can go in and lock my, my social security. Monitoring your accounts. We've already talked about a lot of that. And then, making sure that you're reporting it, okay? Because if you call a financial institution, first of all, most financial institutions, if you have lost a card or something looks suspicious on your checking account, you can go in and temporarily block your card while you either try to locate it or while you try to resolve where the charge came from. Especially if you have a joint account with someone and your significant other, whoever you're joint with, is using a card tied to that same account. But you can block those things and go in and report it. They can give you new account numbers. They can give you new debit card numbers, credit card numbers, and then they can reverse those transactions or send back that ACH that's been, sitting in your account or even listed as pending. And hopefully your financial institution has got a great fraud department that will contact you before you even notice it, right? I have a son in Detroit, and driving from Detroit to Salt Lake, he hit all these different stops, within a day at a time when you're driving 8 to 10 hours every day and you hit different states. And every time he used his credit card in a different state, he would get a fraud alert. Hey, possible transaction because you were in Michigan and now you're in Nebraska. And I said, and he was like, Mom, I keep getting these alerts. And I said, isn't that cool? I'm like, yay, Mountain America. So that's another thing, right? If you don't want those kind of notices all the time, make sure when you're traveling, you just let your financial institution know, hey, I'm going to be traveling. These are the places I'm going to be. This is the time frame. So they know ahead of time, oh, looks like they're traveling the world for the next 2 weeks. So it looks total legit. Report to the Federal Trade Commission, Consumer Protection Offices, Better Business Bureau, call the police, right? And I will tell you once again, law enforcement are short-staffed. But a lot of times when you're filing a fraud report with a financial institution, you do need to get a case number. That's a quick phone call. Call the non-emergency line, say, listen, I have fraud happening or I've been a victim of a scam and I need to file a police report and get that number so that I can have that researched and get reimbursed for that. And a lot of times the police officer will just call you over the phone, ask you a few questions, and give you that number. Sharing your experiences, you can help others, right? Your kids, your family, your friends, your parents, social media. If you've had something happen to you, all the time you see, if you're on any kind of a social media, people sharing things that have happened. There's the neighbor Ring camera. Sometimes I'm like, people hear fireworks and want to know what's happening. And it's like, it's fireworks. But if someone's in the neighborhood breaking through cars and getting identification, that's a reportable thing. I'll look at your Ring notification, but that's just another source that you can use to help protect other people. Okay, your action items. Be mindful. Check yourself, right? Put yourself in check. Look at your emotions. Researching the claims that are coming in, set up alerts and notifications. And I will say, check with your financial institution. What products, services do they offer to help protect yourself, right? Most institutions should have something. My account gives me free identity theft protection, dark web protection, and identification monitoring. So I've gone in and signed up for all of that. So I'm going to get notifications. So check and see what's offered for you to help with that. That's, going to be free of charge for you. That is me. That's what I got. Were there any questions?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. We don't currently have, we have somebody raise their hand. Julia, go for it. Sorry, Julia, if you're talking, we cannot hear you. It looks like you're on mute. Still can't hear you, Julia. Let's type your question in the chat and we'll get to it there. We have a comment in the chat. I've always been extremely careful with scams. I became a victim of identity theft and found out 2 years later. My credit cards started to not work. You ask how it took so long for you to find out the thieves were actually making small payments on all 20 plus cards.
Oh,
And they ended up paying all the credit card companies about $1,200 back, but it racked up within all of the cards to be about $35,000.
oh,
Oh, goodness, David, I'm so sorry.
yeah. You know, and David, thanks for sharing that. So here's what they tend to do. When they get information like that, they try to sneak it through with really small amounts, right? Oh, it's a 99 cent. And even if you're looking at it, sometimes you might think, oh, that's my Apple, or you know what I mean? So they will start out really small to just see how far they can go. So maybe it's a $2 and it's like, oh, this is a real account. I've hit the gold mine. And then it's $200. And then it's $2,000. And they're going to keep doing it in increments to just see how far they can go.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Towards the end, he mentions that it's on you to make sure that you're doing things to check these things. So thank you for reiterating that, David. It's really important. And thank you, Holly, for teaching us a little bit more of how we can help set ourselves up for protection when it comes to scams.
Yes.
We have a question that's asking, how can you lock your social security number?
Okay. So you can check with your financial institution and see if they have that service for you. If not, you would just reach out to the credit bureaus. You can reach out to the credit bureaus and say, hey, I want to lock this, or you can say, I want to put a password on it. So what happens is someone goes into any lender and they take a credit application with your social security. Sometimes they'll kick back. For instance, like someone came into a branch and applied for a loan. They had placed a password, or they had said, paste a phone number to call. And so we're required to call that phone number. And if that person does not answer the call in front of you, you can't proceed. So the only thing with that is you better make sure you remember what was the password, or if you change your phone number to go in, but you can do that directly through the credit bureaus.
That's great information. I actually didn't know that until you had mentioned that today. So thank you so much.
And you've listened to me talk 100 times, so I love that I get you something new.
I love it. Thank you every single time.
I love it.
If there are any other questions, now is your chance to throw them in the chat. We would love to answer any questions that you have. I do want to make mention, Holly, thank you for bringing up this idea of being mindful, right? I think that these scammers are really great at getting us in an emotional mindset, whether that's angry or sad or, extremely happy, right? You want to cruise, or, oh my goodness, there's this person that's going to go to jail if you don't send them money. So it's these very large, extreme things when it's over the phone. And I just appreciate that transparency of, hey, take a step back and really recognize, like, okay, is this my emotion speaking? And you talk about it with the rational part of your brain, right? We've talked about that in previous presentations as well. So really engage that rational part of ourselves when dealing with this topic, sensing and stopping scams.
Yeah,
Julia,
absolutely.
it looks like you're off mute now. Do you have another question?
No, thanks.
Okay, perfect. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming through. I, again, just want to say thanks again so much, Holly. Really, really appreciate the education and the time that you spend with us on educating us about financial wellness in general as well. We really appreciate your team and the topics that you guys bring to our workplace to help us be better responsible for our
Absolutely.
financial
You know,
wellness.
we love you. This is our favorite group. We always get really good engagement, so we love it. And honestly, just as a reminder, if you have questions, go to your financial institution. You know you get free one-on-one coaching with my team, so don't hesitate to reach out to us if you want additional information or resources. We're very happy to help you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Holly. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we'll
Thank
see
you,
you next
everyone.
month.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. See you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.